Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Open Minded. Today we talk with Oliver Long, who's the director of Irongate Marketing. We talk about the mindset needed to run a business, a bit about his business background, how he set up his company, and we also talk about the mindset needed for marketing, getting clients, managing clients, seizing opportunities. We also talk about Ollie's foundation of becoming successful and building routines into your life. We hope that you enjoy this week's episode. If you find some value in it, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's go a little bit into your background, what led you to what you do now, a bit about your expertise and kind of, just what led you to where you are today.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm doing right now is I run a social media marketing agency. So what we mean sort of by that is, we work with businesses, service-based business, and we basically just run profitable, optimized Facebook, Instagram, Google campaigns, that sort of thing, generate them revenue, and obviously provide that sort of hand in hand, business service, I suppose. In terms of sort of where and how I got into what we're sort of going to go into, I think, let me just take you back really to school, to sort of college. We're all on social media. I'm 24 now. Jumped onto Instagram, Facebook from a really young age, and I think personally, depends on what your angle is when you sort of use these platforms. But I always saw it as some sort of money making opportunity. There's a lot of people that you can access in one place, and even if we're not just talking about Instagram, Facebook, that sort of thing, you could look at any sort of online platform where you've got that mass audience. Somehow you can monetize that. And obviously not just for Instagram's own incentives, but for your own. And so I think as you sort of use Instagram, you use Facebook, growing up in that, generation sort of Z, so to speak, era, I just sort of came across opportunities. And obviously I don't need to go into too much depth on, some of the crap you see on social media nowadays. But, that is sort of what stemmed, what I've got into, I feel. And it's.
How old were you when you sort of realised that could make me money?
I was young. So, as I said, you use these platforms, you see people, making money. You see that now, you see people traveling the world. It is a place to show off, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it is a place that inspires, I feel. And that inspired me to sort of look into, how can I make money online? If I've got 1,000 followers, 2,000 followers, 50,000 followers, how am I going to monetize that? How am I going to find more of those followers, those audiences, if I'm making money from what I've already got? How am I going to go ahead and find more of those? And so that's what sort of just tricked me into just delving into the digital marketing space, Facebook advertising space. And that's sort of where my first sort of social media role, so to speak, came up when I was around 14, 15 years old. And that was affiliate marketing. So, I mean, a couple of the guys that are in that sort of space, and it was all through college. There was just this group of lads that were always just sort of, don't get me wrong, studying away and stuff, but in frees and spares and stuff, they were always just sat at their desks, laptops, on their phones, like sending messages, and you build up a sense of curiosity, don't you? So it's
the people who you were around then?
It was. I wouldn't say around. It was more, I'm just a curious guy. my friends at college, I had quite a mixed sort of, friend group. Even now, in doing what I do, I've still got a very sort of separated group of friends. And we'll get into that, I feel, because there's a lot of different mindsets that are within those specific groups respectively. But yeah, back at college, it was just about sort of just seeing what other people are doing, understanding and sort of figuring out, well, why are they doing that? What are they achieving? And how the fuck can I make it better and do it better than what they're doing? So, I mean, started affiliate marketing, and that was just very basic stuff. It was just, outreach, social media based, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just, hammering home to, the specific target audience that we were targeting. In terms of, what we can provide, selling services, selling courses, it's a bit of a mixed bag. Don't want to go into too much depth on that because there's quite a lot of mixed views on that sort of business model nowadays.
Yeah.
But that's certainly what sort of just, lit that spark. And then from just being in that Facebook, Instagram space, understanding, ways of reaching out to people, for example, outreach methods, scripts, and so much comes in to, the actual level of detail that you have to sort of go into and test to understand, how am I going to get results? What is the best script for this audience? What is the best sort of, wording structure? What is the best maybe follow-up periods and so on? But yeah, I'm sort of waffling a little bit now, but that's sort of my sort of, initial background of getting into marketing and affiliate marketing.
It must have been a bit of like a realization of like human psychology as well, wasn't it? Was that kind of where you were kind of like...
It's in many aspects it is, in terms of, it's one thing just jumping on social media and trying to start a business and start selling something. But when you want to sort of, bring sort of, a bit more substance and actual a bit more longevity into that business, absolutely. You've got to start thinking about, right, who are my consumers? Who are my target audience? And then you've got to, as you said, in a way, sort of get in their heads, think how they think. If I'm going to be reaching out to someone to sell them maybe, a service-based business, even now, you've got to think about what sort of time am I reaching out to them? What are they doing in their day-to-day life? What is their role, for example? Are they a director? Are they just, staff member, for example? And then once you sort of, put yourself in their position a little bit more and understand, perhaps it's also more about, their needs. Are they even in a position to want and to need, your services, whether it is digital marketing, whether it is affiliate marketing, whether it is, any other sort of niche. So there's a lot of psychology behind it. And there's a lot of psychology, I think, in the paid advertising and the real sort of targeting behind that. But I'll go into a little bit more depth on that when we get onto sort of client stuff, I think. But yeah, it's a bit of a whirlwind. I'll be honest, it is a bit of a whirlwind in terms of when I first got into that social media marketing space, doing affiliate marketing, which is a little bit different to obviously what we do today. And then, yeah, just sort of that transition really over 4 or 5 years into founding the company that we've got today.
So how long did you do the affiliate marketing for? I know you don't want to go too much into detail.
Yeah, it was I was 14, 15 when I first sort of got into it, first sort of understood, damn, there's a bit of cash to be made here. If you get your head down and you do sort of, pump out some good work, you will see some pretty decent results. And I think a term that's going to be used a lot in this chat, I think, is consistency. Consistency is the bottom line, in my opinion, the foundational, main rule of thumb with whatever you're doing. You can have the dream, you can have the big idea, and you can have like the sort of the Monday morning motivation to start it. But if you're not going to find that level of consistency, you're not going to finish it, are you really? You're not going to finish it. So for me,
discipline.
Yeah, and discipline, and all these things come into it. And I think, so just to answer your question, 14, 15 got into that sort of affiliate marketing space. And it was sort of did that for about 3 or 4 years, on and off, don't get me wrong, part-time work as well.
And did you get approached for that, or did you find it?
Just went out my way, spoke to people, talking to people. And as it happens, it was just a case of talking to someone and said, I think I might have a few friends that may be interested in what you're doing. And that was really what sort of lit that spark, both sides, both for them and for myself, to say, look, I've already got you a couple of customers here, and if this goes well, I can find you a few more. And then that's where that affiliate marketing concept came into play. And then I was given a Facebook account, a Twitter account it was, with mass following. It was already within my niche, so I'd already sort of had maybe 30-40% of my job done for me, in terms of I've already got this sort of level of trust. I've got a page, it's got some sort of substance behind it. And that was just when that was when I sort of just thought, this is really what I want to do, man. Like, if there's money to be made, I can work from anywhere. Life's good. So yeah, that was what really stemmed it.
So you made a bit of money there, and then how long did it take you to get into the next bit?
So it was more just, I always knew I wanted to go to uni, and that was for completely personal reasons. It was more just, I was the first one in my family to go to uni. So I'd always wanted to go to uni. So that was always going to be on the agenda, but I was always doing my affiliate marketing stuff, you know, along the side. I was always that guy sat in the back of the room on his phone, working, doing something to somehow generate myself income. And so it just got to the point where like I was doing this so much at uni. And this isn't so much affiliate marketing, because when I went to uni, I had that sort of transition again where, you know, I did notice I'm actually pretty handy with advertising as well, Facebook, Instagram ads. And so I initially just started off alongside uni, walking into bars, clubs, restaurants, just saying, look, you know, how's your footfall? What's your weekly numbers? And then if I sort of see any sort of potential, you know, opportunity there to increase those figures, and if I feel confident enough to do so, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not walking into businesses and sort of just telling them what they want to hear so I can, you know, get some sort of work in place with them. But it was more, if I genuinely feel like, you know, I can help these guys, I just pitch to them. And, you know, if you pitch enough numbers, you're going to get one or two that turn around and say, you know, fuck it, we'll give you a go. And that's really where the advertising side also came into it. But that was a lot more independent. You know, I wasn't trading as any sort of company. It was just Ollie, the trader, the advertising guy sort of thing. And so, you know, and that went well. I did build up a fairly sort of small but very sort of consistent in terms of the results and obviously the feedback I was getting, sort of, you know, client range. And so that's what stemmed it on. What sort of stemmed it on from there, to be quite honest. But no, as I said, uni, I think the uni sort of side of things and what that sort of showed me was, as I said before, this independence, I think, is quite a key factor in what uni taught me and during my experience at uni. And don't get me wrong, I got my degree, I've got all of that in marketing, obviously. But
you got your degree and you were doing all of that.
Oh yeah,
That's
I've got
amazing.
a degree. I mean, yeah. I don't even think about that. I'll be honest. You completely forget. You know, yeah, I've got a degree in marketing. I can't remember the last time I told someone that.
Yeah.
I'll be absolutely honest. I mean, it's not even something that I'll mention to clients. It's not something that we get asked now. You know, I'm in a sales call, to be honest with you. I don't even get asked, what qualifications do you have? The proof is in our results. But
and if you were to hire someone, would you expect that?
Again, I'm a people person. You have to have, you know, for me, it's what I see in someone is a lot more valuable than what's on a piece of paper. And I think that's a concept that's probably developed a lot more in today's sort of society and in business today, where it's a lot more about, you know, what you see and what they put in, as opposed to, because, you know, someone could have just made a mistake at uni. You know, they could have cocked up. They could have maybe not done quite as well. They may have been going through some shit. And, you know, uni's not the sort of thing you just start again and try again. You know, it costs and so on. So I'm sort of, you know, I'm not someone that says you need to have, you know, a 2-1 or 2-2 in marketing, in this, in that, to be able to talk to us. No way. I'm definitely a very strong believer in sort of, you know, what you see is what you get, as opposed to sort of, you know, taking into account crap on a piece of paper, to be quite frank with you. But
what do you think the biggest things that you learnt from uni then was?
It is just that, it's that level of independence, I think. You know, going to uni, previously lived at home naturally with mum, with dad, you know, with my brother. You've got that support circle day in, day out. You had a bad day, you have a good day, mum's there, dad's there, you know, they're there to sort of pick you up, support you, which you know, I really valued and appreciated as a child. But you go to uni and it's just a completely different ball game. You know, you live at home, for example, you can't just pop out and socialise with your mates at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, because your mum's like, no, you've got to be in bed, sort of thing. You're at uni now, you know, you can go and do whatever you want. You know,
changing freedom straight away.
It is, and you know, I think it's a shock to a lot of systems going to uni, because you're almost under this, almost like invisible almost under this sort of invisible sort of set of rules at home where, you wouldn't expect to be able to go out at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, depending on, your upbringing and your parents and stuff. But you go to uni, man, and you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like, literally, you can do what the fuck you want. You can, I don't even want to get into it, but there's a lot of distractions. I think that's what I'm trying to say. There's a lot of distractions, and you then need to have a lot of self-control. You've got to have a lot of sort of, I think, self-discipline as well is a really important one.
18-year-olds don't have.
And a lot of, 17, 18-year-olds, they do not have that. And I mean, I enjoyed my first year at uni, don't get me wrong, but I think after that year, that was when I sort of was like, this ain't going on for 3 years, man. This ain't going on for 3 years. I'm really going to sort of get my head down now, smash out this uni shit, but more importantly, I want to set myself straight in terms of, business-wise and so on. So,
where do you think you got that from? Because I feel like me and other people, I didn't go to uni probably for that biggest reason of the fact that I didn't really have that discipline, and I knew that I just wanted to sort of run riot, and I would have just wasted it.
I couldn't even fill in the application. As soon as I looked at it, so we were at college in the tutor group, and the tutor was like, right, this is the application. So I'm fucking filling that out. That was the end of my uni career.
I mean, for me, if you mean like that sort of, that drive, that sort of desire to just succeed, really, I suppose, definitely stemmed from my parents. I come from a very, very hardworking family, very, very respectful, and obviously, I'm very lucky to have, parents, the parents that I have. So they're very hardworking. My dad, he starts work 3-4 in the morning. The guy finishes at 6 p.m. That's a pretty long day. And when you're growing up, having your dad obviously literally come home at 6, he's about for maybe an hour or two, and then he's in bed because he's getting up again at 2-3 o'clock. Every day, it just obviously hammers it into your head. And I'm like, these guys actually are really hardworking people. Now, I don't have that sort of incentive of having a limited upbringing or anything like that. So I think it's that hard work and sort of desire from my parents that's really sort of shone through on myself. And you want to do your parents proud, man, don't you, as well? You want to give back in any way that you can. So, I think that's probably my biggest factor is family. And, they're just, my whole family is just such a hardworking family. My cousins, they all sort of share my opinion on it, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just, I want to be able to give back to them, man. Once all of this is said and done, because I didn't even see half of the work that they've had to put in, obviously, before I was around, to be able to put me in some of the, positions I've been in, school, that sort of thing. So, and then obviously uni, I ultimately put that down to my parents. They're the people that did push me, that did give me those opportunities to get myself to uni. And, that whole journey, things pop up and things come and go. And that's where the affiliate marketing comes from. And that's where, the even trading briefly, looking into cryptos and that sort of thing, it all sort of stems just from my family being very, very hardworking, and my dad's a smart guy as well. He's into his sort of crypto investments and that sort of thing. So yeah,
they're all switched on.
Very switched on. I think my dad's definitely the switched on guy, and he's the one that I get that sort of business edge from 100%. But then I think my people skills, definitely my mum. In terms of people skills, and I can talk to anyone, she can talk to anyone. I think probably the biggest limitation from that is the ability to say no in certain situations. I'd say I'm a very big people person. My mum's an even bigger people person, but even she struggles to say no. And in business, which is a completely different concept, but in business, having that limitation of struggling to sort of just put your foot down and saying no to people can cause problems, man.
Oh, 100%.
It can cause problems. And that's something that I've sort of learned, definitely learned over time, from being both affiliate marketing, digital marketing with Irongate, and then the property side of things as well. We'll get onto that, but yeah.
I think what you said there is like a formidable balance between people skills and work ethic and consistency and a business edge. That is kind of like the biggest blessing to get from your parents. like that is the one. You that you can talk to anyone, that you understand the consistency, the work ethic. So that's amazing that you had that from your parents from a young age as well.
Yeah, very fortunate, and I don't ever sort of hide that or any sense. So very fortunate. But if you get that sort of opportunity, you get that sort of slight leg up, you're going to take it and you're going to maximize and you're going to grab that opportunity, to the best of your ability. So that's where it stems from, really, man. And then obviously being in the generation that we're in, having a family, it's very old school. I think that also slightly stemmed the fact that I also saw an opportunity for my own family's business to potentially develop there in the online space. Their website didn't exist, 3-4 years ago. They didn't exist on Facebook and Instagram 3 or 4 years ago. And now they've got a website, they've got Facebook, Instagram, they're on Google, they're on YouTube. And I don't need to say, what company manages their ads and so on. But yeah, I think it's a lot of what your experience, it's a lot about experiences that you sort of have in your upbringing that really do tailor that mindset, I think, personally.
100%. That's why it took me so long to get to this mindset. I had to sort of work it out myself.
Yeah.
It's been difficult, but like it's just so nice to hear, because that's like what I want to instill in my little brother and my little sister, and when I have a family one day, that you actually took that on for yourself and you used it and you didn't waste it. And then you're also so like you say like, oh, I'm grateful for that. Do you know what I mean? That's like a big thing as well. The fact that you're actually grateful for it. Because I feel like a lot of people have that and then they just sort of, oh, whatever. And then, or they get up to a great position and then it's like, oh, it was all me. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. I think each to their own, but I think, especially with us, and it goes further than just sort of, in business, I suppose, but in that business sense, absolutely having, acknowledgement for your team, for the people that are there, not only supporting you in a business sense, but, mentally, personally, I think that's really, really important. And, even with our company, my business partner, he's not just my business partner, this guy's my friend. This guy, if I've got a problem, I'm going to talk to him. If I'm concerned about anything, if I'm, even upset, I have the ability, I'm in that blessed position to be working with one of my best friends. So life's not too bad in that sense, but obviously, it's all about acknowledgement and, just making sure that your team know that they are sort of, loved, respected and so on. But, too many people, I think, sort of take the limelight for themselves once they've got sort of past that sort of, intended sort of level. I think people tend to sort of just forget about the people that were there, But
after that, that first year, you said you had a little bit of fun or whatever in uni. Like, what were the steps that you took after that to like really make your way towards what you are now?
I think it's a lot of it comes down to routine. As I said, uni is a big change in terms of your freedom, in terms of your day-to-day life, because you're now in control. You're in full control. You're not even being told to go to uni. You could literally not turn up for the whole year and you might get maybe 1, 2 or 3 emails saying, where are you? But you haven't got anyone there to say, look, get up off your ass and get into uni. So that's where a lot of people have their downfalls. So, after that sort of first initial year, you're getting used to it. You are having a little bit of fun. You're making friends, obviously, and stuff. Second year, you've got that foundation. So for me, it was just about getting that day-to-day routine patterned down to the sort of pin in terms of, what is my day consistent of? That balance of uni, that balance of, personal work, the social media stuff, and then potentially just time for self-development, that sort of thing. One thing I did find in my sort of second and third year of uni, well, it was in the second year, my morning routine sort of changed quite a bit where, things like cold showers came into play. Saunas, I can't vouch for saunas enough in my personal opinion when it comes to de-stressing and actually getting you ready for the day ahead. Nice cold ice bath followed by the sauna. really did help me just get that clarity every single morning. You wake up, this is what I'm doing today. This is what we're looking to achieve. This is what I've got to do. This is what I've got to submit. It could be anything. But that sort of morning routine of, a nice early start, a nice ice bath, shower, obviously like gym session, whatever, was always sort of a big factor for me in terms of just changing that sort of student university sort of lifestyle, because it's easy to slip and slide down that. And don't get me wrong, I had friends that still went out loads and partied and have a great time and still got great results somehow, but those sort of people are just wizards, aren't they, really? Like, I don't really know how they do it, but
that's not me.
But yeah, it's just about getting that initial routine in place. So you wake up, clear mind, clarity, and just having just blocked off slots in your day for certain tasks. It sounds really basic, but even now, running a business, that's probably the most important sort of aspect of my day-to-day life is organization. Making sure that I am on time, that I can make certain sales calls, that I can submit certain case studies, work, whatever it may be, for the company on time, and obviously following people up. And if you don't have a schedule, if you're not organized, you're not going to get anything done. And that goes for life and business and anything, really, isn't it? So yeah, it was just
building that foundation.
Yeah, it was just about getting that day-to-day routine, and then just staying consistent. And that's it. To be quite clear, to be quite frank, it's just consistency in that day-to-day routine. So you do have to say no to a pub night, and you have to say no to a lot of them at uni. And don't get me wrong, you still do go out, you still need to have that social life, but it is a balance, isn't it? You've got to have a balance. And I think in my second year, that's when I really did start to try and focus on that.
How long did it take until you start getting like real good results?
What do you mean by results? Do you mean with Irongate or with uni in general, from life?
Just from life, the mindset of like, I'm gonna crack on and build this foundation, and then like how long did it take you to like?
When did you see like the fruits of your labor in that?
Yeah,
I think it's quite a difficult question. I think it was more in myself. In when you're going out having fun and stuff with your friends. At the time, it was the first time I've ever done something like that. So it was a really weird sort of position to be in, just always sort of going out, having fun, making friends. And so really just, I don't know, it's quite a difficult question, but I think it's just about, going back to what I said before, self-discipline, being able to say no at certain times, certain situations, and then thinking, all right, cool, I'm sacrificing 3 or 4 hours of snooker and pool with my mates, or the cinema, or whatever, social event they're doing. I'm sacrificing that now, but what is that 3-4 hours going to do for me in the future? How far ahead am I getting now on these guys while they're sat watching Transformers in the fucking cinema or something? You know what I mean? So I think it's more, not so much worry about, what you're missing out on, but what you're getting ahead with, so to speak.
I love that.
But yeah, I think that's probably sort of where I'm at. Yeah.
I think one of the ways maybe to rephrase the question is like, when did you look back at that and say, thank fuck that I did that? Like, I'm glad that I made those changes and that I would put myself on this trajectory rather than a different one.
I sort of feel like probably I haven't even reached that point yet, because I'm still on that journey. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'm nowhere near where I want to be yet personally. My business isn't close to where I want it to be. We always want more naturally. So don't get me wrong, along the way you set yourself goals, achievements, and I think, once you've maybe achieved a few of your sort of initial, short-term goals, achievements, you give yourself a pat on the back, won't you? I'm taking the steps in the right direction, sort of thing. Yeah. But I wouldn't sort of say right now there was a point in the past where I think, fuck me, that was a good choice. I think it right now, but I would always think that, if that makes sense, sort of thing. So,
but I think like, what direction could you have taken when you look at it from that standpoint of like, this is where I could have been if I did that. Like, if you look at people around you, where they are, the people who are doing that, going out every weekend, sort of living that lifestyle, look at where they are, and then look at where you are. I think there's probably quite sort of a polarity in it.
It's pretty simple. The guys and girls that were just going out being silly and social all in 9 to 5s now. Simple as that. And the ones that didn't are running their own business or running their own, side project. Even if they're in a 9 to 5, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. What I'm saying is, they took those extra steps, in all honesty. And it's the people that were, just being rec heads second year and third year and got away with it still. They got their degree, they've got their job in whatever industry that they're in, respectively. But 9 times out of 10, and especially in my case, probably 90% of my friends in that situation, they hate their job. They fucking hate their job. And why do they hate it? Well, it's because they haven't got the degrees, haven't got the qualifications, haven't got the experience, haven't got the people skills, the knowledge to get those higher roles or to be doing whatever the fuck they want to be doing, to be quite frank. And then, that's one of the main sort of drivers for me and for Taylor, my business partner, as to why we do what we do. It's freedom. We don't have anyone calling us at 9:01 if we're not in the office by 9 o'clock sort of thing. We always are, don't get me wrong, because you've got to have that level of consistency, but it's almost just that concept of when you don't have that person there, that person becomes you. And so, there's I personally think there's a lot more positives from obviously running your own company, actually sort of having that level of self-discipline, but I wouldn't have it if didn't make those changes sort of back in university.
Yeah. So, I think one thing that I appreciate is Isaac, and I've heard you speak about Taylor. Is it Taylor?
Yeah, it is.
Your business partner. Like, what sort of things do you do together, like, to keep yourself motivated and to push yourself to be better?
So, yeah, I mean, in terms of how we keep each other motivated, naturally, we've got goals that we set for the company in terms of, new clientele, results on behalf of our clients, obviously. And that's quite an important point. You've got to have that balance of actually getting results for the guys that you currently work with, and then also obviously having a nice busy pipeline of new leads, of new customers to keep that business ticking. Because in our space, it's very, very, fluctuative in terms of, you will get a massive onslaught of interest in clientele in terms of the services, and then it will just completely drop, and you've got to keep a busy pipeline. But we'll go into that in a bit more depth. But yeah, I mean, what we sort of do is, it could literally be anything, to be honest with you. We'll meet up, we'll go places, we'll just go for coffees, we'll go for walks. It's very, very basic things, but it's just, each other's company. When we're together outside of, the working hours, we're just friends, and we do try and have that sort of separation, because it's very easy to get work and friendship, and that's where things can go a little bit downhill. But fortunately, we've got a really, really strong balance when it comes to, right, Monday to Friday, this is our working week. We're working. Saturday, Sunday, if we're going out for a meal or something, we're friends, we're just friends. We're not talking about work all the time. Don't get me wrong, you do, yeah. As businessmen, as money, as sort of money-driven people, naturally you do talk projects. What's the next thing? What's the next side project? We're always sort of, talking silly things like that, but it's just enjoying each other's company, man, and just building that relationship together, to be quite frank.
What age were you when you met him?
So I was 21 at the time, or 20 even. I was 20 years old at the time. And I've got 2 years on him. So he was even younger.
Oh, he's younger.
He was 18, 19 years old at the time. And this is actually quite funny. This is quite a funny story. So I met him literally just through some part-time work that I was doing alongside Irongate when I first founded it in my second year, or end of second year of uni. And yeah, I sort of just got in touch with him through someone's sort of girlfriend, and we just started chatting, just in a general sort of sense, talking business, projects. He wanted to learn sort of, some of the marketing sort of concepts that I implemented, and we just met for coffee. Clearly had a very, very similar mindset from the off. Like, that was so clear that we had a very similar mindset. We both had a very similar vision for, you know, our own trajectory in the business space. And fortunately, he did have an interest in social media marketing anyway. So we sort of became friends in that sense, and just started talking. And then we actually kicked things off by launching a project together, an e-commerce project. It was over COVID now, so sort of end of 2019, sort of 2020 period. We actually launched like a little stupid drop shipping company, and it did do quite well, don't get me wrong. And it was just sort of selling products all orientated around sort of COVID, hygiene, you know, phone cases that desanitize your phone. It was very sort of, you know, season based stuff because of COVID, so to speak. And we weren't sort of profiting over COVID because we weren't selling masks or anything like that. But that's sort of the first project. That was the first time we'd work together, and it went well. You know, it did go well, and we very clearly sort of identified that he brings something to the table that I didn't have, and then obviously I'm able to sort of bring knowledge and already, you know, past experiences to the table for him, to only allow him to develop further as well. So he started doing some work with Irongate, and then really from there, I just started sort of, you know, working with him more and more and more, and then it got to the point where I was like, look, you know, Taylor, you've been such a big part of Irongate's sort of growth from when we first met. That's when we sort of decided to sort of enter a partnership with it, got the agreement signed, and here we are today. And it's, you know, two and a bit years on, still going strong. But yeah.
Yeah, so I think your experience of doing your own e-commerce project, how does that tie into, you know, the way that you think about it? Like you can think about it as an owner, so how does that help you help other owners, let's say?
I think it comes down to the experiences of running an e-commerce store. And as you said, I think earlier, psychology. It allows you to put yourself in that business owner's mindset a lot easier if you've literally run your own e-commerce project. You know, you've experienced the highs and the lows. You've experienced maybe the issues with shipping, or you've experienced the issues with, you know, some of the back end, you know, processes, automation. And so you can sort of almost answer their questions before they've been asked, so to speak, because it's just so much easier to put yourself in that position, to understand perhaps where they're going wrong. And as you said, to sort of, you know, you see and understand the value as well a lot more, from that sort of business owner's sort of standpoint. So, I mean, yeah, for us, you know, like anything, one of the bigger drivers for us to get results is, you know, our service does go hand in hand with good results. If you get good results, our clients have no reason to end any sort of agreement, any sort of relationship, because we're making them money. They're obviously making, trajectory wise, they're making obviously good sort of numbers moving forwards. The forecast is looking good. They've got no reason to stop, you know, working with us. But the moment they do is the moment when, you know, we're not making them a profitable return on their investment. And that's not only ad spend, that's in us as well, as their marketing team, obviously behind those campaigns. So yeah, for us, it is absolutely vital that, you know, you can get results, you know how to get results, and you get them consistently. Because 3 months, you know, 2 or 3 months of great results is not gonna get you very far. And obviously, if you can only maintain results for 1 to maybe 3 months, you're always going to be in that cycle of onboard clients, work with them for a few months, off they go. Onboard clients, work with them for a few months, and then off they go. And you'll never be able to grow. So yeah, you know, and that's something that we did learn. Don't get me wrong. That is something that we learned sort of not the hard way, but, you know, you very quickly sort of understand that, you know, these people aren't going to hang around unless they're seeing a genuinely, you know, good return on what they're spending with you. So yeah, pretty pinnacle for me.
What would you advise people then if they're getting into that? Do you think that they should maybe not focus so much on trying to get clients and more on like getting the clients and then trying to
deliver a good service?
It's difficult, and I mean, you know, it makes me laugh how many sort of, you know, digital marketers, agents, whatever you want to call them. There's so many different names now out there for social media managers, what makes me laugh is the amount of agencies that appear without any sort of skin in the game. And what we mean by that is, case studies. We started Irongate with, I started Irongate with, my own e-commerce case studies. I'd already ran e-commerce stores. So I already had some sort of skin in the game to say, yeah, I've done this. I know what I'm doing. And to sort of answer your question more specifically, it's definitely, first things first, identify your niche. If you're going into the advertising space, you can't be advertising, a million different niches or offering your services to a million different niches, because how can you be an expert in so many different fields? So the first step above anything, in my opinion, is to actually really knuckle down on, right, what service can I fucking sell well? And what service, obviously, are my clients or potential customers going to want from me? Once you've sort of got those two aligned, I think it's just a case of go out there, get that first client. Don't worry about finding more. Get results with him. Use him as your case study. Yes, it won't be a huge profitable business. You probably won't even be making money from this client, but this client's giving you that all-important case study to take away and show the world. Yeah. And once you've got that, as I said, you've got a bit more skin in the game. You've got a little bit more skin in the game, and that's what people want to see, They don't want to see sort of, mock-ups or they don't want to sort of talk to you if you can't actually talk them through how you've done something similar with another business, and obviously sort of showing them how that can be adapted to their business model, to their sort of strategy, to their campaigns or whatever you're selling to them. But yeah, and I think, if you don't, or if you do struggle to get those, top results initially, you don't stress out, you just go again. But don't, and I sort of say this with my chest, don't go ahead and get 3, 4, 5 clients and give yourself sort of, too much work to do, too much of your time's being spread out. You're not paying attention to, one client enough weekly, and then your results are just going to spiral out of control. And then you've got 3 or 4 unhappy clients, 3, 4 really bad Google reviews. You've just put yourself in the ground before you've sort of started, really. So get that sort of close-knit clientele, get them really strong results, and then when you're comfortable, I think, that's when you can start to sort of move forwards, get more people involved, freelancers to begin with, if that's the route that you want to go, or it all depends on your price point and what you can sort of afford, obviously, from a business point of view. But yeah.
How important is word of mouth as well?
I think to begin with, it's absolutely vital. Absolutely vital in terms of, when the first time I formed the company, it was a very much the case of, I was getting clients from word of mouth. We were based in Bath. As I said, I was going into cafes, coffee shops. My very first client was a nightclub, probably one of the more popular nightclubs in Bath, ironically. So for me, this was huge, and and that was just from pretty much word of mouth, going in, just saying, hey guys, I already work with these guys. They're in a sort of similar niche to you, whatever. They're in Bath. I know the audience. Can I just show you what I can do in terms of, increasing footfall? And so yeah. And obviously, once you do good with one's going to talk, and then somebody else is going to hear about that. And, they may not necessarily get in contact with you directly, but, when the time comes, you're there at the back of their mind, sort of thing, in terms of that's who I need to be speaking to when I need digital marketing or social media marketing services. So yeah, word of mouth is absolutely vital, I think, especially when launching and starting up. And it has to be obviously positive word of mouth as well. You don't want people sort of, bad sort of shouting, bad talking your company before you've sort of even got it off the ground yet. So yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit about specialising and being really good at a small number of things and offering those instead of, A to Z?
Absolutely. So I think there's too many, in my opinion, in the social media agency space, there's too many 3, 4, 5, 6-man teams offering everything. Digital marketing is a very broad term. I prefer to call us a social media marketing agency, which obviously is much more specific to those social media platforms. Digital marketing can cover Pinterest, Snapchat, YouTube. There's so many platforms in the digital space. And, unless unless you've got like 100-man team, how on earth can you offer Facebook, Instagram advertising, YouTube advertising, Snapchat advertising, SEO, web development, the list goes on. Like, how on earth are you actually going to be able to provide a very hands-on, professional, and obviously results-orientated service with 4-man?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. So, and so what we sort of very quickly identified is, when we first started out, we did make that mistake slightly, where we were trying to offer pretty much whatever people wanted, because I wanted to get that client on board naturally. And that's obviously in the early stages. But from doing that, naturally, you do see where you tend to get more results than others. And don't get me wrong, when you first start an agency, things are not going to go well. You're going to have relationships that break down, unfortunately. And there's nothing you can do about that. Absolutely nothing you can do about that. But once you do, once you do sort of understand, right, this is what we're fucking good at, that's what you home in on. And so in our case, it really is Facebook, Instagram advertising, so that's paid advertising. And then we do also offer management services, which obviously cover sort of content creation, hashtag research, and that's obviously really important, especially in today's sort of situation with Facebook and Instagram, because algorithms change so much. Hashtags come into play there quite a bit and so on. So, we know that we're the specialists when it comes to finding audiences online, reaching those audiences in the right way, and then obviously delivering results off the back of that process. So, we literally only offer Facebook, Instagram, paid advertising, Google advertising as well, because we see them as sort of going hand in hand. But that is literally it. We are looking to introduce TikTok in the future, but at the moment we don't have the manpower, and we're not going to offer, half a service that we're not confident in terms of getting results. There's just no point in that whatsoever. And if we need to, we will turn down business for that exact reason. Someone comes into a call looking for maybe Facebook, Instagram, and they do raise TikTok. We do get quite a few negative responses to that as well. We get quite a few negative responses where they're like, well, you're a social media agency, why are you not offering TikTok? But as I said, we're not specialists in that field yet. We're getting there, but obviously TikTok's a new platform. So the way that we see it is just offer, what you can guarantee, what you can, provide a professional service in. And since we've done that, we've taken it a step further. You then choose your niche, as I mentioned. Once you know your platform, once you know, right, this is my field, this is my channel, then take it the next step. So what actual type of business do I specialize in when it comes to, generating results? And again, we quickly identified it's going to be e-commerce, because that's where my background stems from in terms of, getting into that advertising space alongside the affiliate stuff. And Taylor, my business partner, he was in exactly the same position, always testing his own Shopify stores, online stores. So we quickly identified that not only do we love it, but this is actually what we're really quite fucking good at. So that's why we offer it, to be quite frank. And as I said, with Google, it's something that goes hand in hand with Facebook and Instagram. And I've always sort of had an interest in Google, more so because of an actual family member that was sort of involved with Google a few years ago. But it's a platform that people go to, obviously, with much more of an intent from the marketing sort of sense side of things. So when you see an ad on Facebook, Instagram, for example, let's just say, we're running ads for just a random company. You remember the name, you don't quite remember how it's spelt, for example, or you remember what they were selling, but you don't quite remember the name. Well, Google is where you'll go to try and find them. You're not going to go on Facebook and type in sort of, whatever you're looking to buy and expect to find, a website to buy from. It's not where you go. You go to Google for that. So that's where the Google advertising comes in, where if someone has seen your ad and you don't want to sort of, miss out or lose that potential conversion, the Google ad side of things becomes really important, because that's where you capture them effectively based on their keyword searches and so on. You've really got to, again, back to the psychology point, put yourself in their headspace. What are people typing on Google to find my business? And that's actually quite a deep question when you think about it, because you're then really having to understand what keywords might I type to find me on Google. Sorry, but yeah. So and that is pretty much predominantly what all of our clients are on board with us with. So it'll either be Facebook and Instagram, or Facebook, Instagram, and Google as sort of a wraparound package.
How would someone like bring something new in to keep up with the times? And if, like, obviously you say that you've got to know what you're talking about before you do it, but how do you, I kind of think like you've got to fail at I think failure is such a big part of getting better at things. And how do you like fail at something without like damaging your business?
I think it's, I mean, in terms of failure, I don't like the word failure. I mean, I think it's just more, just learning from mistakes. So, when you do have that maybe relationship with a client that breaks down and you do have to part ways, I think just handling it gracefully, being respectful to the client, if you had an agreement in place and, certain things need to be done, whether it's potentially a refund, if that's in the agreement sort of thing, you just honor that and you part ways respectively. And that shouldn't put too much sort of damage on your business. But if you're that sort of big-headed, egotistic sort of business owner or director that sort of thinks, oh, it's my client's fault, they're not getting results sort of thing, damn, that's where you're going wrong. And that's when you're going to sort of start pissing people off, and that's when they're going to start talking about you in completely the wrong way, for you to bounce back. So I think, especially with us, when we have had relationships with clients that have broken down, as I said, it's just a case of being very, very sort of respectful, to be quite frank. We talk them through perhaps where we think it went wrong sort of thing. We do give them sort of a plan of action on what we would do moving forwards, naturally. But if that's sort of, at that stage, if they're still, pretty certain that they do just want to call things a day, that's absolutely fine, and you've got to respect that. And you've got to sort of just learn from those mistakes. And especially what we sort of found is, as I said, it was just about taking on certain jobs, certain work that perhaps we weren't the best fit for, and then just being transparent about it, to be quite clear. Yeah.
What I kind of meant by that was like, say these new platforms are coming up all the time.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? Like, how would you bring that in to your business to keep up with things without like just bringing it in straight away?
It's testing, isn't it?
It's all about testing, and obviously understanding algorithms and that sort of thing. So the reason that we don't offer TikTok yet, for example, is just because, we haven't got enough experience with it yet. We do want to do some more testing from our own side of things before we start using another company's money on this platform. So it is just a case of sort of, looking into the platform, understanding more about the platform, doing your research, looking at what already very successful companies on the platform are doing, understand, right, what do we need to do to make that better, and then just sort of pull that together into a strategy. Test it yourself as well. So literally, if we're talking like a sales sort of strategy, it might be a little bit hard to test, obviously, on TikTok, for example, because you'd have to go through that process of creating a store or something. But, as much sort of just pre-research as possible, and then just giving it a shot, just do it and see how it goes. And, learn, as I said, from any mistakes or any sort of, potential failures that sort of come with that. But I mean, I think when it comes to sort of, other businesses bringing in those platforms, I think, step one would just be to find a specialist agency that specializes in that sort of area. There are agencies out there that do TikTok, just like we only do Facebook, Instagram, and Google. So that would sort of be the first step if you're looking to sort of outsource it, by all means. But if you're sort of looking to do it individually, as I said, it's just research the platform, look at what other companies within your niche, within your market, within your space are doing that's working, and replicate it.
What would you say to people who think that ads is dead on social
God,
media?
Here we go. Here we go. They're just clueless, to be quite frank. There's so much that Facebook and Instagram are doing day in, day out, sort of behind the scenes, to really just, adapt and sort of, what's the word? It's just sort of to help marketers do more with Facebook and Instagram ads.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, they're sort of bringing out all these different techniques, these strategies, these sort of campaign types, for example. And, I could sort of go, I could sort of bring up terms like a CBO campaign, for example, campaign budget optimization. Most people that are saying Facebook and Instagram ads are dead probably don't even know what that term means. Yeah. And that's a completely new type of campaign that they've sort of introduced fairly recently. But yeah, and then you've sort of got, I don't know, it's what you do with the data. Facebook, Instagram, they know too much about us, man. They know way too much about us. And that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned from advertising is just the level of detail that we can go into when trying to find your customers or, your potential leads or whatever it may be. The level of detail is crazy. I'm talking age, I'm talking, marital status, I'm talking obviously where you live, what your interests are, what you've recently been Googling, what you've recently pretty much eaten in many ways you can target, all through obviously just where you've been, interest, check-ins. It's crazy the amount of sort of targeting power and depth that we have to go into. I think anyone that says Facebook and Instagram ads are dead are just naive, to be quite frank, and they're probably not getting any results from them either. But yeah, don't get me wrong. You've got to stay up to date. You've got to understand what Facebook are changing and what that's going to mean for your campaign, for your strategy, and so on. But that's what an agency are. That's why we're here. We love this shit. We read it, we read up on it. We're in the know at all times. So you don't have to worry about that when working with an agency, I don't think. But you probably do have to if you're just trying to do things off your own back. Then start to see ads decline, and then obviously you just start complaining about Facebook and Instagram being a crap platform.
Yeah, people that have run campaigns that just didn't work, or they've spent 500 quid and they think that's it.
That's probably the biggest factor that I have to sort of handle in sales calls, for example, is budgets. A sales call can go brilliantly until you have to talk money. Naturally, budgets. And the amount of business owners, small and large, it's mainly the smaller business owners, I'll be honest, that sort of come with this mindset. But the amount of those sort of small business owners that will come in with like a £600, £700, £800 product, furniture, for example, maybe it's bespoke, sofas, chairs, whatever it may be. And then they're like, I want to give you 200 quid a month to get me sales. And it's like, that £200 is a quarter of your selling price. How on earth do you expect us to pay literally quarter of what you're selling this product at and actually start seeing, more than one sale, quite literally? You need to sort of really take into account that although it's a great opportunity, social media is a very, very busy place. It's a very competitive place to advertise, very, very competitive. So, you do need to have that sort of fundamental budget to test audiences, to do A and B split tests. And our sort of process, not to give too much away, is exactly that. We do test pretty much everything there is to test about your campaign, about your audience. And I literally mean everything. The ad copy, the creative, for example. So, once we understand, all right, cool, you need a photo-based ad or a video-based ad, that's what's performing the best. It's not just, okay, cool, let's just do videos now. It's, okay, cool, what actual ad copy works best with the video? Then you're testing literally different wording sequences. The creative's the same, the targeted audience is the same, but you're now literally just testing maybe two or three words swapped around to see if that makes obviously a psychological difference in those consumer decision, in the consumer decision making side of things. And then, to go into more depth, you're then looking at things like Obviously, gender, location. If you're a location-based business, you do need to think about where you're running these ads to. You know, you don't want to be running ads to customers that you can't ship to, for example. It sounds so basic, but anyone that doesn't know how to run Facebook and Instagram campaigns, they could be running ads in a country that they can't even, you know, sell to, and they'll be there complaining, saying, you know, oh, Facebook, you know, Instagram ads are dead and whack. But yeah, I think it's just, you know, just knowing what you're doing. If you know what you're doing with Facebook and Instagram, and this is with anything, you know, I don't think you're not gonna have that sort of very negative mindset towards it, are you really? So yeah, I don't know who those people are, but they're wrong. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Definitely wrong.
Can you paint a picture of like what it's like when a campaign's working? What sort of,
Yeah,
you know, how does that change your business?
Absolutely. So, I mean, the way that sort of campaigns work, it's fairly complex in terms of, you know, you hear this a lot on the internet. It's not a get rich quick scheme. Nothing is in life really on that note. But the way that sort of, you know, we sort of monitor and understand whether an ad's working is obviously all based on data. But once we actually can see what we need to see, which obviously would be things like low CPMs, low CPCs, which is obviously the cost to put traffic onto a website, for example, you know, that business is all of a sudden interacting with so many more customers, and they are seeing so many more sales. And what I mean by that is, you know, it's our job really to put people onto, and if you're just like a e-commerce site, for example, it's our job to put people onto your website. That's almost like your brick and mortar store on the high street. Yeah. We're putting people into your shop, and then we've effectively done our job, obviously assuming that they buy. Now, if they don't buy, it's then obviously our job to work with you, even if we didn't sort of create your website, for example. It's then our job to work with you to understand, well, why the hell are we sending customers into your shop, so to speak, and then they're just walking out? Like, imagine, and the best way that I put this in calls, and it's actually quite a good little metaphor, is, you know, imagine you're a shop owner. You're literally stood in your shop. I've just sort of gone and rounded up 100 people. I've sent them all into your shop. Said, Johnny, you know, here you go, mate. Loads and loads of customers coming your way. They all maybe pick up an item, come to the counter, just turn around and leave. That's the equivalent of going onto your website, adding to the cart, maybe even starting that checkout process of adding your address, adding your phone number, and then just leaving, closing the tab, leaving the checkout. You'd be quite concerned if someone did that in real life, come to the counter, left it on the table and just walked out. You'd be like, why the hell has that just happened? What has just put you off that decision that you initially had made 10 seconds ago? What has just changed in your mind? And that's where we come in to sort of look at, right, we've put people on your website. There is a fine line between, is it the right audience? Or have we maybe just sort of put, you know, the wrong type of people? And obviously that's a completely different situation, but we're the experts and we're the ones that obviously need to sort of run the numbers in that sense. But once we understand, yeah, this is definitely your audience, we're getting really low clicks, it has to be your website. It's in a case of understanding what the hell is going wrong on this website for so many people to be obviously dropping off and so on. But once they do see those conversion rates, you know, it's more business for them. That's the bottom line. It's more revenue for that business. And so, and once we sort of see those initial strong figures, we then obviously instantly know, brilliant, this is going to be a nice long-term relationship because the results are only going to follow suit sort of thing. But yeah.
What does it look like to, if you've got a website that's just not converting, what do you need to do to it?
Well, it could be anything. You need to look at why you're not getting conversions first. And the way that we do that is all back end. You know, it's data. It's where you've got traffic falling off. It's, you know, is there certain buttons that people are clicking and then just, you know, leaving the web page? And it could be down to literally anything. It could be your shipping times. And that's something that in the sort of the last year or two, mainly the last sort of year, has obviously really become quite a big thing because you've got Amazon dropping your delivery the same day now, don't you? You know, you can literally get something 2 hours later. I know Argos do that as well. So the moment that, you know, you start sort of saying, oh yeah, you'll get it in 3 to 5 days, those consumers are just going to prefer to spend an extra £5, an extra £8, even £10-15 in some cases to buy it from Amazon and to get it same day. You've then lost that sale. It's as simple as that. So it's just understanding what's going on with your website, and then obviously just fixing it, to be quite frank. But there's not a lot more you can do other than obviously look back end, understand the analytics, understand, how your customers behave on your website. Because again, it's no different to how they behave in a shop.
Yeah.
And then fix, that area of the website if you're not seeing, the sort of results that you expect, to be quite frank.
I think talk a bit as well about retargeting and how that works, because the amount of times I've seen people run ads and they don't even have a pixel on their website, let's say.
Yeah, that's pretty rookie.
Like, what does that mean?
Rookie stuff. Yeah, so the term retargeting is literally just a marketing term that we use where, we're doing pretty much what it says on the tin. We're going back to customers that we know have some sort of an interest in what we're offering, whether that's product, service, whatever. And that's, to be fair, it's not just from websites we can retarget, but I'll get onto that in a second. The importance really of retargeting is, the average consumer needs to be sort of advertised to or sort of touched, we sort of say, in the marketing space 7 or 8 times. So you need to have 7 or 8 points of contact with a customer before they're going to purchase from you, before they're going to become a lead. So you can't just bank on sending someone to your website on a one-off basis and to have them convert. You need to nurture them. You need to sort of give them more of just we've got a great offer on, buy now reason to actually buy into you and your service or your product. So it's through retargeting that we actually do that. And it's all sort of mindset based in the sense that, these people that we're targeting now have been on your website, for example. They have been on your Instagram page, for example. We can retarget anything, by the way, in terms of video content, Instagram views. Something that Instagram have actually released literally in the last few months is follower retargeting as well. That's actually huge, by the way. We've not been able to do that until literally. So follower retargeting is literally the same concept in terms of going back to people that obviously are interested in your business, but this time you can actually run ads solely to your followers on Instagram and Facebook. Now, you couldn't previously do that. They've only just introduced that. So all of a sudden, all that hard work that you've been putting in over the years organically to build up a social following on Facebook, on Instagram, you can then actually run a very specific, targeted, it may be offer-based, it may just be generic ad to your audience. And it cuts out, so much advertising spend because, you're now not having to test different placements, different audiences, different locations, and so on, because you can just go, right, I know exactly where my audience is, they're following me. So you're not going to be having to spend and split budgets up and potentially obviously risk budgets going towards audiences that aren't so profitable. So, I think anyone that isn't retargeting, that's like, it's very basic stuff. And the point that you mentioned, Isaac, is, a Facebook pixel is literally what you need to get this data. So when you do see people running Facebook and Instagram ads without that pixel on their website, it's a bit like, you're blind. You have no idea what your audiences are doing on that website. And all a pixel is a line of code. Just a line of code, you put it into the header of your website, and then that will just pull a lot more data back into Facebook. And obviously gives us an insight into page drop-offs, link clicks, what customers are clicking on before they decide to leave your webpage and Google your competitor, sort of thing. So yeah, it's just a very basic rookie mistake if people are running ads without that installed. But I get a lot of that as well, to be fair.
So why might someone advertise to their followers? Why would they not just post?
Yeah,
What's happened?
So the reason behind it is obviously it is sort of, as I said, very mindset based and psychology based. If you see a sponsored ad, it comes across as a little bit more personal. Now, if I was to see just a feed post from a business that I follow offering maybe some sort of offer, some sort of Black Friday promo, if I see it on their Instagram, I know that everyone's going to see that. doesn't sound so personal. It doesn't sound like they've specifically sort of targeted me, so to speak. Whereas when we run ads on Facebook and Instagram, if we're going back to your followers, it's not something that's on their feed. So you can make that a lot more personal. You can actually sort of, build that creative around maybe, thank you for being a great follower. Thank you for sort of supporting our journey sort of thing. Here, have £5 off your next order. Have a 10% coupon. But as it's sponsored, it just comes across as so much more personal, as opposed to sort of just seeing something on the business feed and you just think, oh, well, all 27,000 followers can see that and redeem that, so I don't feel so special now. So it just brings like a little bit more, almost like intimacy, I suppose, into your advertising. And that's the way that advertising is going now. It's all about really building a sense of trust, community, and just reassurance behind your business before people are going to buy into you. But yeah.
So does that show to every single person in your followers then?
So it depends. All depends what you're looking to achieve. Again, there's so much depth that I could go into in terms of the power we have behind customizing and targeting these ads. You can do things such as targeting followers that are yet to be a purchaser, for example. So you can actually sort of cut out that audience that have purchased before, and obviously saving you ad spend in terms of potentially marketing to those audiences and wasting it, because you don't need to pull them back onto the website, for example, because they've already purchased. It's quite clear. So I think it's the level of sort of customization and depth that we can go into when it comes to digging out those personality traits, those interests that certain members of your following will have, and that you want to specifically target because of, effectively. So yeah, I think there's a lot of advantages. There's a lot of advantages of it, and then it's really how you do get sort of conversions, in the sense that you're never really going to get a successful campaign where you introduce yourself to your customers once. As I said, 7 or 8 times is the average. So we need to be running campaigns that are actually going back and again and again and again. And it's around that 7th or 8th sort of point of contact where we tend to see the most sales, the most leads being generated, the most booked Calendly calls. And that's even in our own case with our own lead generation. We do our own marketing, obviously. We run our own ads. The proof is in the pudding. I don't understand what the hell agencies are doing that, aren't running their own ads, to be quite frank. The best way to sell yourself is to find your customers with the service that you're willing to provide them, I feel, and so yeah, it's all about just, split testing, understanding your data, and I mean, yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Can you talk a bit about how the touch points actually happen across multiple platforms? Because you might not do 8 touch points on Instagram. It could happen on an ad on YouTube, or then pop up in an Instagram story.
Absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, it comes down to retargeting, naturally. And there's obviously 2 ways you can sort of retarget. So if it's within the same platform, like Facebook, for example, Instagram, it's very, very easy. It's all through that sort of Facebook pixel concept. It's just a line of code. Only Facebook sees that data. But then obviously you can download data from Facebook to be used elsewhere. So if we did need to run some sort of, specific campaign on YouTube, for example, you can download emails, upload emails, obviously, and that's sort of how you'll be retargeting in that sense. And so, I mean, yeah, that's sort of the fundamental. It's just about sort of taking your data from one platform, because they don't all combine into one place, obviously. We do have a third-party platform that actually allows us to do that and to see that data, but it's not something that Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube just integrate with themselves, sort of thing. So yeah, you'd sort of have maybe a Facebook, Instagram campaign running, the data, the emails, whatever sort of remarketing sort of information that you're pulling from your audiences, you can then push that into a Google campaign, for for example, upload the data, upload the email lists if it's email campaigns, upload the audience set if it's an audience based. So, and that's when, you sort of tend to notice, oh, I saw an ad on Facebook. I'm now seeing a very similar ad for the same product. Maybe it's probably giving you a little bit more information, because that whole retargeting process, don't forget, is a nurturing process. So you're not going to see the same ad over and over again. The way that we sort of do it is, if you sort of imagine maybe like a 3-piece funnel sort of thing, that top half of our funnel, the widest, the most broad part of that funnel, is where we're just putting, a very, very large bulk of different audiences, all based around your niche, based around your product. And then obviously that A and B sort of split testing process kicks in. We identify who those potential customers are going to be, the ones that are hitting our link clicks and so on. And the ones that don't click on that link, obviously just leave our funnel, no problem. But as I mentioned, no one's just going to buy straight off the bat. And so that's where they then sort of get pushed into our middle sort of part of that funnel. And that's where the retargeting concepts come in. So we're now going back to those customers, not with the same ad or campaign as before, because, if you didn't get results before, you're not going to get them this time round running the same ad. You're going to get the same results, obviously. You may get them back to the website, but they're still not going to convert, because you've not told them any more than what you told them last time. You've not given them any more of a reason to buy your product or to use your service than you did before. So it's in that retargeting sequence. You'll tend to find that, you may have seen an ad for in our case, our services, let's just say. The next ad that you'll see may be something on the lines of client testimonials, for example. We know that you're interested because you've been to our website. We know that you've heard of us because you've seen my ad. And we know this because you wouldn't be in our retargeting groups if you didn't click on our link, if you didn't watch our video for more than 7 seconds, for example. And that's actually quite an interesting point. The average attention span on Facebook and Instagram is literally 5 to 6 seconds. Okay, so when we run video content, for example, if you've watched more than 5 to 6 seconds, chances are you're fairly interested there, because we've pulled your attention away from your feed, away from your friends, away from whatever stuff you follow within those spaces, and we've actually caught your attention for more than the average sort of consumer. So that for us is a big sort of factor in terms of you then can retarget video viewers, and obviously it's all obviously based on metrics. So when it comes to retargeting with video viewers, for example, you can actually retarget people that have watched a certain amount of that video. So all of a sudden, again, you're being able to actually really go into more depth on how much interest these potential consumers are going to have in your business. It makes sense to target the people that watched obviously more of that video. The more that they've watched, the more the likelihood is whatever the hell you were speaking about or whatever the hell was being advertised in that video, it's got some sort of an interest their end. And so you can actually go, right, we will now retarget very specifically only people that have watched either 10 seconds or more of our video, let's just say, but not obviously made a purchase and so on. And it's just that peace of mind again, knowing that you're now not marketing to anyone that's not got an interest in what you've got on offer, because you know that these audiences, these customers, have sort of shown that initial intent just by watching a video. They have no idea that you know this, obviously. This is all based on, Facebook and Instagram's metrics and back-end ads manager and so on. But yeah, so jumping back into that sort of funnel concept, you go back to those audiences. You go back with them with another reason. Why the hell should you buy my product? What reasons do you have that I need to buy your product? And so in our case, it would be a testimonial, for example. We'll show them some case studies. We've got videos of me just in front of the camera talking you through, case studies, clients that have sort of gone 20, 30, 50, 60K months. I think the most recent one that we put on Instagram was 150K in like a month, which was crazy. And, all of these sort of subconscious ads and so on, they do just build more of a sort of a picture in that sort of consumer's mind that when it does come, when the time does come to actually take that next step, you're the only guys in the back of their mind, sort of thing. And if they weren't already sold, it's that funneling process of going back to them with a testimonial. Then maybe a few days later, if they still haven't obviously booked in a call, reach out to them specifically. You know, we actually run ads very, very specific in some cases where it's because you forget to book a call. And that's going to people that have only been on our Calendly booking site. And if you'd recently been on our Calendly booking site and saw that pop up on your feed, you'd feel very personally, very, very personally targeted there. And it helps build, again, that sort of rapport with consumer. But yeah, and then obviously you've got that sort of bottom part of your funnel, which again is sort of just to tie up any loose ends, so to speak. So once we have been sort of running, as I said, anywhere between 2, 3 and 7 or 8 sort of points of contact with these consumers, you've got to draw the line somewhere. You do get window shoppers, you know, especially with e-commerce stores. So many window shoppers, people, you know, will jump on the website, they'll add to cart, but they're just not going to buy at the end of the day. And that's where sort of our bottom of funnel comes in, which is effectively where we're giving that audience a last ditch opportunity to purchase. So that's when you may include a discount code, £5 off, free shipping in the e-commerce space. In our space, it may be a free guide, for example. Start of this year, we obviously released 2021, 2022, sort of just Facebook and Instagram advertising guide, you know, how to stay up to date in 2022 and so on. And that's just obviously used, that was quite a good little lead magnet for us, and obviously reason to get people booking calls with myself. Book a call, boom, you get like a free guide or whatever. And obviously leave some details, leave an email, phone number, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah.
What sort of things, because what I've realised in my time on social media is it's all about getting people's attention. And you said you do videos. What sort of things, like, because it's literally the first like 3 seconds which are like so important. What like things do you do to like really capture someone's attention in the first 3 seconds?
I've done some stupid.
Yeah.
I've done some. I've done some really, really stupid stuff on the internet, man.
Yeah.
Some really, and this is again, you live and you learn. Okay, and you can't judge me on this.
No, it's a trial and error, though, isn't it?
So you know, it was I think a couple of Christmas. No, I think it might have even been last Christmas. We really wanted to get quite seasonal. And we wanted, you know, within our space, you know, it is a very competitive market to advertise in for your own services. As I said, there's so many agencies. Over COVID, it was secretly a blessing for us in terms of business and the demand for our services. But at the same time, it sucked because so many freelancers just appeared out of nowhere. Yeah. Apparently social media experts, after, you know, losing their job due to COVID. Yeah. So in that sense, you know, that was a little bit frustrating. But just going back to sort of the Christmas point, we were trying to be a little bit more seasonal. We were trying to, as I said, just capture the attention of our audience. And you have to do that visually. Naturally, you know, even in today with videos, you know, you see a lot of videos with captions, obviously, and so on. It's because not everyone's there listening to what you've got to say, so it's got to be a visual factor. So in this case, I dressed up as Santa Claus. And it was supposed to be comedy. All right, we weren't taking this seriously whatsoever. But I was dressed up as Santa. The concept behind it was scaling Santa, really, really cringe. But as you mentioned, Johnny, it caught their attention. It captured your attention, because if you're scrolling through a feed and you just see some guy dressed up as Santa sat in front of a computer with a massive Santa sack, it looked absolutely ridiculous, but it caught your attention. And so then as long as we were targeting the right people, the people that are going to sort of take action and want more information on what we offer and see past the sort of the humorous side of it, we did get, you know, quite a bit of attention off the back of that. And we did a few more. I mean, a mad professor I tried as well. This is really out of character for me, by the way, but you know, we were just testing different things. As you said, you've got to test it just to know if it's going to work. Yeah. And we didn't want to go down that route of, and this is a route that so many agencies take. It's, you know, the flashy cars, the big offices, the big, you know, we're not that agency. We all work from home. You know, the whole team work. I've got my own home office. Taylor's got his own home office, and then the guys that we do work with all literally just work from their own space. So, you know, we're not going to try and cap and be come across as an agency that we're not, to be quite frank. So we
Sounds
sort
like
of
you not take yourself too seriously as well.
absolutely. Well, I wouldn't say not seriously, but you know, within that sort of advertising sort of process, I think you've got to test. You've got to test different angles, and I think that sort of funny, humorous sort of side of things, especially over Christmas, it did work quite well. I'm probably not going to do it again though. I'll be honest. Probably not again.
Hire someone else to do it.
Well, I think I wouldn't say I wouldn't do it again because of, you know, the results. I think it's just more, we've done it now. We've got to think of something new.
Yeah, okay.
You know, we can't go back and use the same strategy because, as you said, you know, these social, you know, the social space, it's developing so quickly, man. Like Meta as a whole is developing and moving scary fast, in my opinion. But
what sort of things have you seen in Meta which has been changing?
I think it's more just the power of technology, you know, the VR side of things that's coming into it. I think that's really, really scary. You know, I've seen VR concerts being advertised, and it's like, do these people just want you to sit at home all day and just put on a pair of goggles and that be your life experience sort of thing? You know, you put these goggles on and boom, you're at a festival, boom, you're at a football match, boom. For me, that's just really, really scary, and I have no interest in VR whatsoever, personally. But I think that's probably the biggest red flag for me with Meta. I mean, in the advertising space, in the marketing space, I actually sort of really like what they're doing. And they're making our job easier by introducing new metrics, techniques, and that sort of thing. But from sort of the VR and the just sort of metaverse, isn't it, sort of standpoint, I think it's a little bit scary, the future. I think it's a little bit scary.
What don't you like about it?
I think it's, as I said, it's disconnecting us from reality.
100%.
As if we didn't already need another distraction, another reason to get disconnected from obviously like where we are today. I just think it's going in the wrong direction. I really do. And, you know, things like concerts, things like, you know, just going out with your friends, it's going to be a thing of the past. And social media has already damaged that because, you know, 20 years ago, you'll go out with your mates, you've got a Nokia brick in your pocket and you don't touch it until you're calling a cab to go home sort of thing. Nowadays, you go out with your mates and, you know, we've all experienced it. There's like half the group head down in their phone, not even with you. So it's a bit like, you know, if that's not something that we can sort of take and learn from, maybe try and sort of somehow take that concept and adapt it into VR. But for me, it's just more of a reason to be disconnected from reality at all times, pretty much.
What do you think about augmented reality?
I mean, it's useful. I think it's useful in the sense, you know, from a marketing perspective, or more so just from, you know, a business sort of perspective. You know, there's a lot of companies out there that use augmented reality for, you know, buying a new sofa, for example. You can now literally lift your phone up and you can see the sofa like in your room, for example. I think in that sense, in terms of a shopping, in terms of a customer user experience sense, it's very, very useful by all means, because there are people out there that might not be able to get to your store. And so from a marketing standpoint, you're now opening doors to more customers because they can now use augmented reality to obviously determine if whatever you're buying is going to fit in their house or it's going to look good on them, for example. It's a little bit silly, but, you know, it's a step in the right direction, in my opinion. But
I think that's a lot less scary than
100%, 100%, because this is more, well, it's just sort of, you know, actually helping businesses, you know, express whatever message or show whatever product and the value of that product to you in your own home, pretty much. But yeah, the VR, I think it's just got a slightly different feel to it. And the way that, as I said, like everything seems to be going with these sort of, you know, virtual avatars that you see everywhere. And I mean, I even saw the other day like an AI app that makes you into some sort of superhero cartoon thing, and I found it amazing. like that it can do that. But at the same time, just from uploading a couple photos of yourself, and in about 20-25 minutes, this app just takes your image and adapts you, and it's not just sort of, you know, the images that you took. They've now got different angles of your head that you didn't even show them, and it's just a little bit like, what the fuck?
Is that the one where all the girls were putting up their
Yeah.
Instagram?
I think so, yeah.
Your ones look quite good. My ones were really not that great. But you think what they're doing with that, right? There are people who are susceptible to social media, like short circuit in their reward system. So they get, you know, a hit from getting engagement, seeing things online. And if you can create a new world for someone, like some of the ways I've seen it done is like guys that, like there are people who live full time in VR, and like they sleep with the headset on, they wake up, they live in like quite a empty room where there's like a toilet and there's like food and a bed and they've developed another life there, so their reward in life is inside the VR. So they've kind of got everything they need to survive, but they exist in this like basically other dimension, this virtual dimension where they get their satisfaction from. And I think you can see already that there are people who are susceptible to that short-circuited reward system. For example, when they're using their phones instead of being present in reality. So imagine how many people are going to be more susceptible to that. Because already people are susceptible to that with games, leveling up in games.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, like people are so competitive about just games. So you imagine when it's a more immersive experience that kind of you get feelings on different levels. I imagine when there's sensation to it, or there's smell involved with it, and there's like a complete like an actual virtual reality.
I think that's the scary bit about it, though, isn't it? It's when it gets that far.
But you
Where
think
would
about
it stop?
the money that must be involved in that, because you think the money that must be involved in just advertisement, of general advertisement. Think when you can say, okay, we sell these apartments that you could live in virtual reality inside of, and we will tend to all of your other needs, but you have to do X, Y, Z.
The worst one's probably, we've got you your virtual girlfriend.
I was waiting for that. Literally, that would be a very, very weird situation to be in, like meeting each other's virtual girlfriend. Even just saying it out loud just doesn't sound right, does it? Really?
No.
But I mean, it probably already exists. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm sure you can probably somehow.
Yeah, they'll come out of an app. It'd be called like Lucy.
Yeah.
It'd be like everyone's virtual Mrs. Lucy. And you're hearing like 2030 divorce rates to get married to Lucy.
Yeah, that would be quite a.
But I think there's probably
Interesting.
massive money in that. There's probably trillions in that. Because you think how many people can't actually create a satisfactory life in the real world because of this hierarchy that exists and barriers to entry, that they can just get this headset on finance for £4 a month and they go into that and they've got a missus, they've got a nice setup. It's dangerous what I think people can be tricked into.
Well, I think you see that with OnlyFans. I think the amount of money that's in that, I think a lot of men probably go towards that. Do you know what I mean? There's probably like
It's a quick way to trick men into things, especially.
yeah.
Like they say, sex sells.
It's quite scary, really.
Maybe that's a side project.
You better start looking into that.
I can't say can't say we've got much experience. But we'll look into it. Yeah, we'll look into it. By all means. But I think, you know, what you said there was quite powerful in terms of, the advertising space with VR. Shit's going to get a little bit scary in that sense. You know, you can bet your bottom dollar that Facebook will somehow introduce ads into your VR world. There'll be a subscription that you can sort of remove ads or something, and there'll be a free version. And there's going to be marketers, advertisers like us, literally throwing the most immersive, quick fire 5 to 15 second ads at you that, you know, you can imagine. And if it's VR, if we're advertising some sort of, I think you mentioned it, like an apartment, for example, for an estate agent, we can just throw you in the apartment for 10 seconds. You know what I mean? And so, you know, that's such a massive leap from forcing you to watch a video for a few seconds sort of thing. You know, all of a sudden you are there. You are in the room. And even if it's for 5 to 10 seconds, if that room suits your needs, and we've obviously targeted you the way that we should be, and you are, you know, our client's typical customer, that's going to go a long way. That's going to go a long, long way in terms of the advertising space, and how Facebook and how advertising on Facebook's really going to change, I think. But yeah.
I think you'll have to hire a lot of people, and I think a lot of people who sort of make games and things like that are going to be making a hell of a lot of money in that space. Because and also like interior designers, they'll have to go into these places and like make them how you want them to be.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we've spoken to right at the start of this year. We're still in touch now. A company that actually do specialize in basically creating your business online in terms of like AI, augmented reality. So if you're sort of, I don't know, a wedding venue, for example, and you really want customers to understand what your venue is like, and naturally you may be a few hundred miles away, they can't just pop in and have a look. There's actually companies out there now that will come in, sort of, not even sure how they do it. It's all through like 3D filming and obviously like AI technology, but they will basically just put a virtual version, effectively, of your venue online.
oh wow!
And I think that's pretty damn cool. If you ask me, they're already doing that, man. That's already out there. And the particular company we're speaking to actually does quite well. They're actually a really good bunch of guys. But yeah, they were the first ones that we've sort of initially spoken to that are in that niche. But since then, you know, once you know about it, you do tend to just spot, you know, other businesses within the market and other areas where a similar augmented reality concept could actually work quite well. But I think there's quite a bit of investment to go into the equipment for that sort of thing. It's a lot of drones and shit like that. But and then obviously it's a whole new sort of ball game. It's getting the team behind you to really launch, you know, quite a specialist niche service like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
it's probably quite a long wait on return on investment as well.
I'd imagine so. Yeah. You know, I don't know the sort of the numbers behind it, but I'd imagine, you know, you're not going to be sort of selling your services at sub 10 grand, surely 15, 20, I'd probably say, or more, to put your business venue, you know, properly online for people to see. I'd imagine so anyway. It could be a million miles away, but yeah, with that sort of, you know, service price point, goes back to my point about budgets earlier. You can't be coming into that sort of market with a £500 a month ad budget trying to find 10 grand clients. So, you know, you do need a lot more capital for that. But yeah, it's an very interesting sort of topic actually.
That's where you want to take this then, really. Even though you don't really want it to go that way, you can.
It's going to go that way though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know that concept in Minority Report, the movie, there's like adverts that they see that like billboards are contextual to them. So it's like scrolling past on a feed, but it's actually changed to who's looking at the ad. Imagine that combined with VR, and then where they've got more data about you as well, where they can just give you contextual, like they'll put you into an ad, into like a memory. Like they don't even design the fucking the space. They put you into your family home, like by the fire with your nan or something like that.
Jesus
Christ. And then your nan tells you the advertisement. like Geico Insurance is only £99 a month now. Like grandson sort of thing. Like imagine when the ads like that level.
Dear,
it sounds like
me.
Black Mirror.
Yeah, that's like the ultimate Black Mirror event.
But I mean, you look at I think it's called like GTA. I think it's called like Roleplay, something that I've noticed is really blowing up. It's going back to sort of the virtual reality side of things. There are people living lives in these video games, and what I only literally just found out recently is they're actually advertisers running ads on billboards, for example, within this GTA roleplay world. And to put that into context, I think the concept behind it is people literally have jobs that they log in to their computer and they'll just live out like a very basic like Burger King job, but on GTA. It's really weird. Like it's a really weird. I don't know if you guys have heard about it.
I've
It's
not
a
seen
really
that.
weird concept, but people literally will like live their lives in this game, talk to each other. There's like policemen, firefighters, and these literally this is these guys' lives pretty much, so that they're earning money within the game. Sort of similar to what you said, where they've got everything they need at home, like in the real world, but their life is there in that more virtual space. So there are actually advertisers running ads to those people for certain, just things, products, services in the real world, but in that GTA environment. And for me, like, yeah, we don't do anything along those lines yet, obviously, but again, that's something that really sort of blows my mind a little bit in terms of, people are actually taking the real world and what they're selling here into these stupid little games to advertise them. But at the end of the day, it's the only way that you're going to find these people, isn't it? Because if their head's always in this game, they're not going to be on Instagram and Facebook so much. They're going to be on, in this virtual world 24/7. But I just couldn't believe how serious these guys take some of these games. And like, yeah, it just looks a little bit bizarre, but each to their own, for sure.
Got a lot of time on your hands.
It's literally more just seeing things pop up, isn't it, on like TikTok and I do try and limit my time on those platforms, but you've got to sort of enjoy yourself, haven't you, sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, you've also got to see what's going on. Check out the
Definitely.
algorithms.
Definitely.
Like my journey with TikTok is literally you have to watch to see what's like the new trending things and all these, and the way that people do their videos. How are they doing it? How can I make my videos like? And that's obviously a massive thing for you as well, because you've got to see what is getting people's attention.
What's next up? Yeah, what's next up, quite literally.
And also your own brain, of how your own brain reacts to certain videos. Oh, that video kept me for this amount of time.
Absolutely. And I think you mentioned algorithms. That's quite an important point, because they do change. And as much as being on TikTok isn't work, it always sort of is in a way, because whenever I'm on these platforms, there is something to learn. I may see something. I may see an ad, for example, that I think, damn, that caught my attention. Yeah. I need to take that, rework it, make it better, and push that for myself, sort of thing. So, it's quite difficult actually to find that sort of balance, also between obviously actually working within social media. Our job is literally to be on Instagram and Facebook all the time, and I don't need to go into any depth on how many distractions come with that naturally. God bless iOS and Apple letting you have like work mode on your phone, otherwise it would be difficult. It would be difficult to sort of just stay on top of work alongside just so many different distractions. And we do manage over sort of 10, 15 different businesses, Facebook, Instagram profiles. So we are literally on, social media 24/7. We're interacting with new customers via Instagram, via Facebook. Naturally, we're running ads on Instagram, on Facebook for our own lead generation services and so on. So yeah, I think it's quite important to sort of get that balance between sort of, having fun on social media and then just focusing on work. But once you get into a routine, as I said, I think it's pretty straightforward. But yeah.
So one question I did want to ask you.
Yeah.
Andrew Tate has had like a big come up recently. I don't know if you want to talk about it.
No, yeah, we can. Yeah. I knew this was going to come up. I thought this was going to come up. I didn't know if I should mention it or not. Personally, I'm a big fan of his strategy. I'm not a supporter in any way of Andrew Tate personally, and I don't really value too many of his views. I do think he's a little bit of a loose head, and he does obviously do a lot of what he does just for his public image, which sort of leads back around to his strategy. But his sort of rise pretty much to the very top of publicity within Facebook and Instagram, I think is well, I praise it. Now, this guy wasn't running paid ads. This guy was really, really smart with the way that he wanted to find people. So he's got obviously his main Instagram page. Now, the reason that you would just constantly see Andrew Tate videos in the space. It's because he just built an army of people to create 1 million fan accounts basically in his name. So there'll be so many. Just take this, take that, Andrew this, Andrew that. I can't remember his company's name, Hustlers University. It's a little bit cringe, but you'd see all these accounts in that name, not managed by him, and it would also say not affiliated with Andrew Tate in any way. So it just looks like this guy's got fans already. Now, secretly, the chances are they were just sort of team members or just, really loyal fans.
They were affiliates, though.
From doing, what I mean is obviously, to begin with, they would have been affiliates. But obviously, once he's built that community, once he's got that following, he then just sort of finds, oh, okay, cool. These guys now want to do the same thing. And as you said, it goes into that sort of affiliate model where you are literally taking a small commission for selling his sort of Hustlers University course. But it's the actual sort of amount, the quantity of these Instagram and Facebook pages that just appeared overnight, literally overnight. And then you're forced to see them. Instagram and Facebook's algorithm can't protect you from, 1,000 Andrew Tate accounts that are all just, abiding by the typical Instagram, algorithm and restrictions and so on. So they are going to put that content in front of you. And even if you don't like Andrew Tate and you block it, you're going to see the next affiliate account and the next fan account and so on. So that's what sort of just got him that level of exposure out there. You'd literally scroll and you wouldn't be able to scroll through like 5 reels on Instagram without seeing some stupid short 5 to 10 second clip of Andrew talking about, how he made his millions or his Bugatti and all this crap. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I do really sort of praise it. As I said, the actual strategy. I don't know obviously how much actual paid work went behind those campaigns because, I don't have access to that sort of information. But from what I saw on an organic perspective and just the sheer amount of pages, man, that this guy had just appear over such a short period of time. And then obviously to have Instagram and Facebook ban him, Twitter ban him temporarily, that only sort of just helped because it's more publicity. It's now, okay, we can't hear it from him via Facebook, Instagram, so-and-so. Where did we hear about him? In the news, man. This guy actually made the news for being kicked off a social media platform. I think that's nuts, personally. I think that's nuts. So, in my opinion, I don't really, I can't fault his strategy, but I think his opinions and his views on certain things, I think, are very debatable. But we'll save that for another day, I think.
Yeah. From what you can tell with Instagram's, because Instagram deleted him, I don't think that their policies or whatever was right for banning him. So, but even though that they banned him, like you said, like he was still everywhere just because of these reasons. Because he built this sort of following, which they just were just churning out all of his videos, and it's like, how do you stop that? There's no way of stopping that.
You got to do a blanket ban. You got to ban him everywhere and just say anything affiliated to this is banned because it wasn't one account; it was loads of accounts. And I think he just mastered the craft of saying really controversial shit that people ended up watching, and he also gave people an incentive to share it. They were getting, say it's like $50 a month, they were getting half of the first month's payment for every person that signed up. I think was part of their scheme. It was
crazy. I mean, the incentive behind working as an affiliate for this guy was pretty strong. It was pretty high, but obviously, all those people, I suppose, they were just money driven. They were just trying to obviously just make a few buck on the side. But I just couldn't get over the sheer mass of accounts. And obviously, as you said, when this guy got banned, deleted, he hasn't gone anywhere.
No.
All those other pages are still there. And Instagram and Facebook would have to have a really big reason to do sort of what you said and just do a complete affiliation ban with the guy. You'd have to have some quite good reason in there. And I don't feel like they had quite enough to ban him in the first place, to be honest. I think that was very, very, very media orientated, pressurized by the media, pressurized about what people were saying about him, about his views. And I think that Meta as a whole probably just felt a little bit pressured into getting him off their platform temporarily. But yeah, it is an interesting topic.
Was there anything that you saw in that whole uprise which you like took on for yourself, or
I wouldn't say take on for myself.
just more interesting?
I certainly sort of saw, as I said, the value in his sort of strategy, the sheer just number of pages. I keep saying it, but he really does have a lot of affiliate pages, and it's just that time frame that he managed to build it up in.
Yeah.
Just seemed absolutely crazy, and something that actually that did sort of cross my mind the other day. Someone mentioned the Andrew Tate song to me. I was like, what the fuck's the Andrew Tate song? And it's that soundtrack that you hear over any Andrew Tate video. I think it's like a sort of an Indian originated song, and it's like there's no singing in it. Yeah, it's like a theme song. That guy's made it his. And someone actually came to me saying, "Oh yeah, have you heard the Andrew Tate song?" I'm thinking, "Oh, is he sung a song or something?" No, it's just that one tune that is on every single ad creative post video. I mean, I saw a video on him, and like a nightclub was actually playing it to introduce this guy, and it's not even his song. So that just shows the power of the sheer mass marketing that he's actually done to sort of say, and he's actually built that sort of song into to become his own. It's a little bit sort of mind bending for me. And again, you can only praise it because it is just marketing. It's that sort of initial, if I listen to that song now, you do think about Andrew Tate, and I don't think many people would disagree with me there. So, that's a long-term marketing plan that's free. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, Andrew Tate is one thing, but is there anyone who you sort of look up to in the space, or that someone who's done something in the space which you're, other than Andrew Tate, that you actually like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't look up to Andrew Tate.
Yeah, that's what I meant. If you don't look up to
just
Andrew
be
Tate,
absolutely clear. I mean, I think if I was to sort of pull out one person in terms of inspiration, other than the cliche, my own dad, it would be, and that's obviously in my space. There's an influencer figure called Ayman Ghazi. No, Ayman Ghazi or Ghazi, something like that. Now, I've been following him for quite a while. So had Taylor, business partner, and he's in a very, very similar niche to us, or he was in a very similar niche. The guy now is, I don't think he's even hit 22, 23 yet, and he's worth millions. It's massive inspiration. And he actually got into the space at a much younger age, and he's just grown crazily. But one of the reasons that I sort of find him quite an inspiration is, again, because it's a very, very sort of similar business model that he initially ran in terms of the situations and issues that he initially faced from obviously just following him, his YouTube videos and that sort of thing. That actually helped me personally a lot in terms of, educationally, understanding more about how to actually run an agency, because, we can't forget that I literally sort of started Irongate while at uni, so it was a very part-time thing, and I'd never run a proper business before, so to speak. So I was a rookie, and I still would say, I wouldn't go to the length of saying I'm a rookie still now, naturally, but you're still learning. You're always going to have more room to sort of learn and to improve your practices and so on. So it was really just his information, his experiences that I sort of found that I could relate to, and then when he's sort of pushing as much sort of consistent content as he was at the time, that was very, 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 very valuable. You do just sort of generate and build a for the guy, and what he's achieved is pretty inspirational in terms of the agency space. He actually started a social media agency and then went on to sort of help people start their own agencies, and now the guy's got his own complete CRM sort of platform, lead management platform, and he's basically just sort of taken the very sort of vertical approach in terms of, okay, cool, I've got, a social agency. How can I then sort of, take that to the next step in terms of, slightly switching my market, slightly switching my angle now, going from consumers to actual business owners. And then once you sort of understood how can I, improve on the business owner side of things in terms of helping them start an agency, it's, well, I'll give them a CRM. I'll give them a lead generation platform. So he's just sort of step by step, just sort of taking every single step in terms of that business or client's acquisition process and just giving it to them. And he's a smart guy, man. He's a very, very smart guy. But
he talks about the agency being like a stepping stone to
absolutely
essentially teaching and then to software.
Mm-hmm. I mean, he sort of, he says that in his, I mean, I watched a fair few of his videos, not so much of late, but in sort of the more recent one that I watched, he was just sort of mentioning how that initial agency set up and sort of growth process, as you said, is that sort of stepping stone to then being able to go, right, I've done this for 3 or 4 years. He did generate some crazy results for some of his clients. And then, what's the next step? Well, I can now help people do that sort of thing, help other people that perhaps were in his position. The guy, his actual background does come from, I think, sort of poverty, very, very limited access to, just general, resources and stuff as a kid. So that's certainly where his drive came from. But no, I respect it all the same, for sure. But
what would be like your biggest goal for a company to work with?
I mean, I think the biggest goal is always going to be obviously to maximize and generate as much revenue and to obviously make that business to business relationship as sustainable and long term as possible. But the only way to do that, as I said, is to be generating results. But maybe just to alter your question there slightly, in terms of what would be the ideal business to work with, I'd go as far as sort of saying, a company that does understand the value of Facebook and Instagram advertising. Now, I appreciate my role is to help business owners understand, perhaps, if they are a little bit sort of clouded on the subject, how it can benefit them. But in an ideal world, someone that knows, or a company that knows the value that Facebook and Instagram ads can bring to their business and understands, again, the sort of requirements in terms of advertising budgets and actually has that budget, is pretty much sort of what we look for. The biggest limitation that we find, obviously with most services, let alone social media marketing, it is money. It's always going to come down to pricing or ad spend budget. So as long as they've got a good idea on sort of what they should be spending, and if they're fairly clued up, it makes our life so much easier than having to sort of explain to them what social media is before then obviously implementing a strategy and explaining that strategy. And obviously, naturally, that just sort of becomes a little bit unproductive if you're having to go around in circles explaining, this is what we're doing for you, this is the value, this is that. Whereas if they just know, cool, Ollie, you're going to be running our ads, we want to hit, an X by, month 2, month 3, month 4, whatever. Here are your objectives, here's your targets, crack on with it. That's a perfect situation for us. And obviously, in terms of businesses, e-commerce niche always would be our sort of preference. And then we do offer service-based lead generation services for either corporate or service-based individuals or businesses as well. But
do you not have a dream business that you want to work with?
In terms of dream business, I think it's not specifically. I think when we see an awesome product, when we jump into a call with someone that's got a really niche product, I get excited. I get really excited, man. But there's not sort of something that we're out there hunting for, so to speak. I think it's more we're out there hunting for the businesses that are struggling and that do need our expertise. But as I said, as a rule of thumb preference, it is going to be a company in that e-commerce niche, and we do work or tend to work really well with sort of tech-based products. So maybe an innovation sort of in the future that's sort of a new tech-based product or something along those lines would probably be my ideal client to work with in terms of an interest in the product and obviously that sort of thing. But as I said, with who we work with and how we choose who we work with, it's a lot more based on do they have the resources, can they give us what we need, and then obviously are they realistic about what our working relationship's going to be like. Because you don't hire a builder and doesn't turn up with no tools sort of thing. You need to give us the resources to get you results. Otherwise, it's not going to be a great sort of working relationship. So we do certainly look at that probably a little bit more at the moment than sort of what and what or how the service works or product is.
Cool. I think that was a really good chat, guys.
That was a really good chat, mate. thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, no, it's been good. I mean, first time on a podcast, so
Yeah.
hopefully it's not gone too bad. How do you think it went?
did really well.
You think?
Really
Really
well,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
all
thank you
good,
everyone
man.
for listening to the Open Minded podcast. We'll see you again next time.